Good morning, everybody. I am gonna start the stream out with no live camera, only because I am just leaving. I grabbed my coffee, and I didn't want to be much later than I am, so it's just gonna be a few minutes till I get to work, and then I'll turn the camera on. But I also won't be looking at the chat while I do all this, so as I'm driving. It's hump day. Hump day. What's everybody up to this morning? How's everybody doing? We've gone from discussing a case 24/7 to I almost feel a little bit bored. I don't like it. And it's just ended yesterday, so there's still a lot of information to be about the 4 victims that were unalive from Lake/Dyer County in Tennessee on the 29th, which is my kid's freaking birthday. But there's nothing really that we're going to get that's going to be important or actually fact information, in my opinion, right now, because there is now going to be a big time case against this accused individual, who I'm not going to really mention much because he's already gotten enough fame. Thank you, Gopher. But he's been captured, he's surrendered, and that's all that really matters now. Now we've got to just deal with the funerals and the stuff that's being given to the victims. And the victims, again, just to recap, the parents of Baby W, James Matthew Wilson, Adriana Williams, Courtney Rose, and her 15-year-old son, Braden Williams. But on to the story that I'm trying to talk about today. It's a case out of Jacksonville, Florida. And I saw this posted while I was looking into the last case we were looking into. And it caught my attention. I'm not really even sure why. But the title was... I love that little mystery gift. Thank you, Helena. 14-year-old calls 911 from church after unaliving parents. And it's about 2 individuals that were unalived in their home, Mr. and Mrs. Lee in Jackson, Florida, or Jacksonville. I'm so used to trying to say Jackson, not Jacksonville. Thank you. Look at the cute little gifts. I love them. The reason that I found it fascinating is because, first of all, this is a 14-year-old, and I have a 14-year-old, a newly 14-year-old, and usually when somebody commits a crime, they are not typically going to call and tattle on themselves, right? And so it's fascinating by the fact that he called, and so they've released the 911 call, and he basically, first of all, what happened is they say that he had an argument with his parents, and then for whatever reason, he decided to unalive his parents. But he did a couple of things before he called 911. He called his older sister, who is stationed in California. I guess she's in the military. And so he called his older sister to tell her what he had done. It's alleged that she convinced him or told him, you have to call and tell people what you did, call the authorities and tell them what you did. And so he did, but he walked over to a church, which was about 1.5 miles from his home, and then he called 911. So the local updates on the story actually have a 911 call from the sister, and she says something that really caught my attention. She said they were actually having a good day and had gone to the movies and everything seemed okay, or something to the like of that. And so it's almost like a lot of these cases that we follow have similar things that the people say or do. And one of the things that I recall from Sebastian's story, Sebastian Rogers, a boy missing from Hendersonville, Tennessee, is that his mom said that they were having the best day ever. You know, they were having the perfect weekend. They didn't have to do extra discipline. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I think of when I think of how she said it, how she worded it. But I'm adding those extra words. It wasn't said that way. It was just, oh, we didn't have any issues. There was no argument. There was no discipline. There was nothing going on that went awry. When somebody says that to me, I instantly feel like there's been discipline or there's been severe issues before this statement. Like, they're basically saying, hey, we usually have really bad problems. We usually have really bad arguments. But today, for some reason, everything seemed perfectly fine. Thank you, Helena. And so it's like, well, was it fine though? Was it normal today? Or is it just something that you're saying? Because clearly something must have been going on with this family to where this young man had felt that he had to take matters into his own hands and unalive his parents. I mean, that's not typical behavior for civilized human beings. Do you know what I mean? It's fascinating to me though still, however, because of the aspect of the fact he went to church. And as somebody I was brought up in a church all my life. Let me put my camera up. I'm trying to fix my camera so I can see you guys. And it's not one to cooperate. I'm trying to hold the phone and fix the camera thingy. And oh my God. Okay, hold on. So as somebody that was brought up in church myself, like my parents were, and I'll tell you a little bit about myself here. Usually I don't like to tell too much that's super, super involved in my life, but I do tell basically a lot about myself anyway. My parents brought myself, my sister, and the two of them over to a different country when I was 7 years old. And that was in lieu of like religion. My dad got a scholarship to go to a university here in town. And it was a religious thing. Like, my parents were religious. And I was brought up in this religious atmosphere. Hey! Too much. Like, it was basically like, you know, you can't do anything that anybody your age is doing. Like, listening to certain music is frowned upon. You know, going to the club is not okay. Drinking anything whatsoever at all is not accepted. And so I would start to sneak out places and start to see the same girls in youth group over doing the same stuff that I would want to do, but they were doing it. And I'm like, does your mom know you're here? And the girl's like, yeah, she dropped me off. What do you mean? I'm like, well, I'm having to sneak here. You know what I mean? So it's like I feel connected to crimes that are not necessarily feel connected. That was a bad word. I feel like I want to know more about people that commit crimes that have like this religious connection to them. Does that make sense? Christina, you too? That's good to know. Well, my parents say that they didn't know any better because they were foreigners in this country. Because I eventually, you know, grew up and had a little bit of resentment. And as I dealt through my issues, I, you know, told them, hey, you know, I was upset because, you know, I couldn't do this and this and that. And then, you know, I saw all my friends there from youth group. And, you know, they're like, well, we didn't know better. And I'm like, I know, you know, I don't blame my parents at all. My parents are amazing. They've helped with my daughter more than I could ever know. That doesn't even make sense. I'm just drinking my coffee, you guys. You got to bear with me. But so basically, this young 14-year-old boy, he calls his sister, tells her what he's done. He calls 911, tells them he's at a church. And the sister calls 911. We get to hear that call. Thank And the sister says, well, they're actually having a good day. They went to the movies, which makes me feel as though the sister's aware that there's some kind of issue, whether or not the boy possibly got hormone-induced schizophrenia. Like, at a hormonal age of 14, it is just, like, your body can go from 0 to 60 and you just can completely just lose it. And I don't know why that happens. I was actually going to look in the Bible to see if there's anything in there about hormones. Because I know that I've had issues, not rage issues, but I've had like really bad anxiety that I feel is really surrounded every hormonal time in my period of life. But it's like, what does it say to do about like hormonal incidences? Because it's like, there's got to be something somewhere to help somebody. You know what I mean? And so she calls, she says, they were actually having a great day. She doesn't understand what the problem is. The 911 dispatch center, she did such a good job, because we got to hear his call, but a lot of it's redacted, because when you call and confess to a crime, they don't want the public to be able to access the call so that you get a fair trial once you go to trial. But after, you're convicted or you're freed, they release the call to where you can hear the whole thing. But right now it's all redacted. And he says at one point, I've walked to this church, I'm all stretched out. And the lady's like, what do you mean all stretched out? I'm guessing he's either laid out on the ground, stretched out. But she's like, what do you mean stretched out? And then he starts to say, I've emptied my pockets. So like, that leads me to believe like he knows right from wrong, and he knows that, he's at a church for a reason. Like, are you coming to confess your sins because you know what you did? And then he says, do you pray? And the lady's like, oh, I'll listen to you, and he's like, well, no, ma'am, I'm asking if you pray, and could you pray for me? And that really, like, that hit my heart, because I'm like, well, man, what, like, did you have, like, bad thoughts? Or, like, how is this like, and for all the times that I've lived and had, a moment or had something to where I've needed, like, this type of prayer, I literally, like, can't you cast out demons as somebody that believes in God? Like, when that type of incident would have occurred, like, and then also, if you know that your child is possibly angry, whether it's, hormonal teenage type stuff, or, just, you're arguing a lot for days at a time, put your weapons into a safe place. I say that as somebody that's doing that currently. I've got a teenager. There's no way whatsoever at all for her to access anything that I own. And it's always been locked up in a way and out of her sight. But at the same time, it's like there's a slight age where I feel like it's definitely just, you've got to be a little bit more precautious. And so this poor young man asked the lady to pray for him, and she said, I'll pray for you, son. And that's kind of how it ends. But it's like, man, now we've got his two parents. I do too. I do too. Pittsburgh nurse, that's what, and that's what actually really compelled me to want to discuss the story, because I was still so into the last story. But I just like, and I listened to a law and crime news video. I meant to pen it, but I got a little bit confused. I just, it's just like, I felt for him, because as somebody that had gone through a childhood of being raised in this church atmosphere where things are not okay if you don't abide by the law 100%, like, I get it. But at the same time, like, dude, like, I rebuke you, Satan. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, there should be a power of prayer for yourself personally as a believer. And there should also be, like, you've got to have self-control to the point where, like, get out of the house, walk out, like, tell the people, hey, I'm about to hurt you. Please help me, or you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just so crazy to me. And then another reason why I wanted to listen to the story to begin with, when I saw it pop up on my thing, I've been watching a lot of stuff on, it's not a body cam channel, but it's a channel that it's got a really good narration to it, and it talks about stuff while it shows body cam footage. And there was a video that I found on that. I'll have to find all these videos because, like, you guys have no idea what I'm talking about. But there was a video of an individual who lost their mind and took somebody out, and then had to be, tased and cuffed and jumped on, and the man was like rebuking the devil as he was driving a stolen police car and praying and like almost speaking in tongues. And that was fascinating to me, because it was just like, how? Like, what type of, like, who even are you praying to? Because that's not the God that I pray to. I mean, it's just like, yes, that's exactly what it is. Pittsburgh Nurse, it's explore something, I think it's called. I couldn't think of what it was, or else I would have said it right off the bat. But it's something different. It's a body cam footage that has, and it's got millions of views on every video. Like that video with the police guy that he stole a police car and was like quoting scripture, and basically he was like driving a stolen police car away as he's like rebuking the devil and driving a stolen police car. I mean, it was just like, holy crap. But I just saw the time, you guys. I gotta run. I just wanted to bring another case just to the light. Hopefully this young man gets the help he needs. It's awful what he did. We're definitely I'm gonna keep him in my prayers, because I grew up the same way. I eventually had to stand my ground and tell them it's wrong. Amen. Go for me too. That's actually where I'm still at. I mean, I still have some, not issues, but I still have some conflict there within my parents, because they don't believe certain things, and I'm like, I'm not too hyper focused on anything like that. So it's definitely different. And thank you guys. I'm sorry if I missed a super chat, or if I saw somebody gave a sub membership to somebody. I appreciate all of you guys so much. I was just trying to get out the whole story. Like, I have a hard time sometimes with my ADHD, and I have a limited time to where I can kind of get these stories out, or I can discuss or do whatever I do on here. And so I try to get it out without being too squirrely, so everybody can kind of know what I'm talking about. But I always end it and feel like it's just been like completely chaotic, you guys. But thank you so much for being here with me every day, and I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I thank you very, very, very much, like I said. And I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Bicycle.